We have some really spicy patch notes for Helldivers 2. It is the first major combat balance for this phenomenal game that just has overtaken the gaming world by storm. And I have a lot of thoughts about it, and there has been some controversy, at least for the developers who've commented on why they changed some of the things or nerfed some of the things. And I'm also going to get into it as a player who has basically been playing Helldive difficulty since like level 23. And I've been playing this game close to like 110 hours at this point. And I have a lot of thoughts. So what happened? What got nerfed? What got buffed? So two major updates for the gameplay. If you've logged on in the past couple of days, you'll notice that there are something called planetary hazards. So what this means is there will be additional environmental changes or effects. So there could be tornadoes of fire, there could be meteor showers, which I think is the more common one, and there'll be other things that we'll encounter on different planets, which is awesome. Balancing. Now, eradicate missions now require more kills and enemy spawn more often. The time to complete the mission was previously shorter than intended, and should now usually take twice as long to complete. I think this is part of the response to people who are farming eradicate missions for XP or medals or what have you. And also, I think there's also the component of eradicate missions, especially if you're killing too many things too fast, that it actually is a little slower. So on both fronts, I can see why they changed it the way they did. Now, the biggest controversy in terms of the changes was, of course, the adjustments to the primary, secondary, and support weapons. So the breaker shotgun that almost everyone prefers using, especially for Terminids, has been nerfed, decreased magazine capacity from 16 to 13, and they increased the recoil from 30 to 55, which actually is quite significant, and you can feel it. And of course, the biggest one, railgun, decreased armor penetration in safe mode, decreased damage against durable enemy parts. A lot of people really, really did not like this because they saw the railgun as the most effective, or perhaps in some people's eyes, the only option to tackle on things like chargers or bow titans and or hulks or what have you. But mainly, I feel like for Terminids, because I feel like I see the railguns used there being the most. But yeah, so there is a safe mode and unsafe mode. And unsafe mode, it's still pretty decent. It's still pretty good from what I've tested. So I have no issues with this. I think definitely there is a kind of problem here when a gun or weapon or something is too good that just becomes standard to run. I feel like Helldivers 2 is a really fun game because of all the options it offers. And when it gets to the point, especially on Helldive difficulty or similar difficulties like Impossible, etc., it's just like, well, I really want to use this fun gun, but I can't because it's kind of ineffective. So I really want to see in the future maybe better options for at least primaries or support weapons being better suited, at least in terms of stats against certain enemies like chargers, quite tanky. I don't know if it's the problem here is the weapon damage versus the tankiness of certain targets, but unsafe mode, which is more fun, is still fine. And that's really it. I just don't really see the appeal in just running the same support weapon over and over. I'd rather other weapons be brought up to speed. And Flamethrower, they increase the damage per second by 50%. This is actually a huge, significant buff for the Flamethrower, and I expect a lot more people will be using it once they figure out that this is actually really good. Laser Cannon. The Laser Cannon, when I first tested it, was really underwhelming against automatons or Terminids. And I was like, oh, this is kind of bad. I mean, I know it doesn't have any required ammunition, but it's pretty bad. But so they increase the damage against durable enemy parts. They increased armor penetration, improved ergonomics. So this might be definitely an alternative alongside the recoilless cannon and the disposable rockets to replace railguns for some instances. Punisher, we have increased total ammo capacity from 40 to 60, increased the stagger force, increased the damage from 40 per bullet to 45 per bullet. Pretty decent, especially with the stagger force. Something to definitely try out, at least for the automatons. Breaker, Spray, and Pray. So this is probably one of the worst guns in the game in terms of handling. They increased the armor penetration though, increased the fire rate from 300 to 330, increased the number of pellets from 12 to 16 per shot, not bad. Decreased the magazine size, however, from 30 to 26. So actually, definitely might be worth checking out. But I have a feeling that it will not be as good as even the Breaker in its nerfed state. But anyway, the biggest controversy was with the railgun. And of course, the energy shield backpack. They increased the delay before recharging. They nerfed the shield. I had a feeling that the energy shield backpack was meant more for use against the automaton gunfire rather than shielding yourself from your own explosions, from your own stratagems, from the Terminids, from a Bile Titan's legs, from a charger charging on you. So I can see why a lot of people were mad about it or upset about it, but it is like objectively ridiculous to me that I can solo Helldive difficulty pre-nerf on Railgun and Energy Shield Backpack, get like 50 or 60 samples and not die. So I think that the nerf is fine. And I think it definitely will make people play it a little bit more safely or think about how they play. And I really do love this buff to the 380mm and 120mm orbital barrages. I love using these. My only problem was, of course, the spread of the artillery, even the 120mm, which I felt like was inaccurate when they show it on the tooltip, in the clip tooltip. And they also increased duration of bombardment. Not bad. And they also fixed armor rating values. That's been bugged since launch. They fixed certain bug holes that were unnecessarily hard to destroy, fixed anti-aliasing toggle not working on PS5, and a whole bunch of other performance fixes in terms of the bugginess of the game at times. When, for example, like you can't use your primary at times. Hopefully that they will address that in the future a bit more. But yeah, so I kind of want to talk about the player response to all this in terms of the nerf to Railgun. And actually the game director and CEO of Arrowhead Gaming Studios, Palstad, he has commented on the developer and Discord moderator responses to player angst as saying, this is a horrible statement, he's apologizing, and not representing or following the studio guidelines and how to communicate. It is emotionally driven, and then critiques of the balance patch were taken as a personal attack. I am extremely disappointed with the behavior. He probably had a talk with his team about how to talk to people or players specifically in this case, or Redditors in this case. So I'm going to get this out of the way. For example, Evil Boss on Discord says, and I am out of here, get good, play easiest if you want to win, send in a take it, and complain, and HR might have a meeting with me. Okay. I think once the dust settles, the parts of the community that enjoyed dev interaction up to this point might be in for some disappointing times. Man, watching you all cry amuses me so much. Okay, so the moderator is way out ahead. I don't know if the moderator is part of the dev team or not, but I feel like Discord moderator saying, man, watching you all cry amuses me so much. I think that's a bit too far. I think Evil Boss, I think the problem with this is the delivery. There is truth to it. Like, why are you all complaining about the most obviously broken setups with the backpack, the shield backpack and railgun? To me, I feel like most groups I get into in Helldivers 2, outside of the friend groups, no one talks, and that's so bizarre to me that most people in such a co-op driven game, they don't talk with their mics. It's at times infuriating. There's no effort from people to coordinate on choosing stratagems, especially on the high Helldive difficulty. People just go with backpack, railgun, whatever else, 500 kilogram bomb, and then everyone just has the same setup. But no one coordinates. Hey, should I bring this? Are you gonna bring that? Can you drop me a backpack? Because I'm not gonna have a backpack in my setup later on in the mission. No one does that. It's crazy to me that no one talks in this game. It's a team game. It's a PvE co-op game, and on the highest difficulty levels, no one talks. No one really asks for advice. Nothing. It's just silence. It's so awkward, and it kind of takes away the fun. Now, when people do talk, that's when I have the most fun. That's when we actually are the most successful. My first Helldive difficulty mission ever, we cleared the entire map because we were talking to each other and we were having fun doing it. So when I think of people saying or harassing the developers saying, oh, this is dog shit changes, you guys are crazy for nerfing things in the PvE game, I'm just thinking to myself, I think they're right. I think developers, despite however they delivered it, in terms of saying get good, or it might be a skill issue. They're right. They're completely right. Have you tried getting good? Have you tried talking to your teammates? Probably not. Have you tried different, I don't know, approaches to tackling Battle Titans or certain missions like evacuate personnel? I cannot tell you how many times people have messed up the evacuate personnel missions simply because they don't know how the mission works. They don't know where to go to get the civilians. They don't know the concept of kiting around certain enemies for those missions. It's just bizarre to me that there's such a clear lack of communication on part of the players with each other, to the point that they do depend on certain setups or loadouts as crutches to tackle on higher difficulties. So, for example, here, Frederick, a Arrowhead developer, says people are still clearing Helldive. True. So I'm not sure what to say here, but skill issues come to mind. I mean, absolutely based. Like the same people who are praising these developers and the CEO for being based about a bunch of things are now turning on them because they're just saying objectively true things, albeit not in a very PR way. And then and these are the same people that'll complain about, oh man, they don't communicate with us anymore. Oh, they don't talk to us anymore. We want to see more dev community. Well, these are people. Game developers are not robots or automatons or bugs that just, they don't have feelings or anything, right? It's just bizarre to me. And Frederick continues to say, a quick comment on why we decided to nerf rather than buff. We're balancing a PvE game. That means we're balancing your power level versus the difficulty of the game, not versus other players. That means that if we bring all weapons up, we would need to also bring the enemies up proportionally to reach our target difficulty. We like what we see with the other weapons, so it made the most sense to bring the stronger stuff down a bit and the weaker stuff up. Absolutely. On a personal note, I was horrified to see that people were crushing the harder difficulty only a couple of weeks after release. This is supposed to be a hard game. I want you to earn your success. Good luck. And he gets downvoted for saying, hey, the hard levels or the hard difficulty should be hard. That's insane to me that these people on Reddit are like, no, we're going to crucify you. It's insane. I also want to talk about I would also be horrified if people were like, hey, I'm just going to solo this with a backpack and a railgun. I don't know. There's also one thing to say too. They're going to be adding a lot more things to the game. They've added mechs as of today, as of the making of this video. And mechs are going to be, from the demo clips I've seen, going to be foreshotting Bile Titans. And with that tool in mind, I don't understand why people don't realize that certain things need to be nerfed, or at least adjusted for gameplay, because they'll be adding more stuff in the future apart from the mechs. There'll be vehicles, there'll be new weapons, new support weapons, there'll be new primaries, new support weapons, new stratagems. So I don't know. It's people are, I think, thinking in very short term. Anyway, continuing on with this. Sorry to hear that in response to a comment saying, the power fantasy that, it's not fun finding out that you're less powerful. But if you came to Helldiver for our power trip, you came to the wrong place. It's a meat grinder. It doesn't matter if you're level 1 or 50. You should struggle on the higher difficulties. That's absolutely correct. And I think there is still an aspect of, put the power fantasy or power trips. I mean, especially if you go back to the easier levels, or maybe certain types of missions are just easier, even on the higher difficulties, that there's a sense of, oh my god, I'm all powerful. These stratagems are really cool to use, or really fun to use, or really great to use. But these are also the same player base, or at least part of the player base, that enjoyed the difficulty of Malevelon Creek. Saying now that it's not fun, that it's difficult, or that our things are not as powerful as it used to be. So I don't know. And these comments still keep on going. And he just keeps getting downvoted by almost 900 people. A game for everyone is a game for no one. And this is something that has been said multiple times by the Arrowhead CEO, by the company, by other devs. And people are like, oh, based. Oh, that's so respectable. And now it's being downvoted. That, I think, is crazy. And then I see some of the players pointing out the potential balancing issues. For example, this person said, what are we supposed to do with 5 Bile Titans and 7 Chargers spawning all at once on tiny eradicate missions? How is this balanced in any way? Okay, first of all, when I look at this is a legit skill issue. There should not be 5 Bile Titans and 7 Chargers at once. Like, this just means you weren't killing them fast enough, or maybe you're not using this certain stratagems like railgun, orbital strike, for the Bio Titans popping up. You're not coordinating. You're not talking to your teammates. Also, I like how, at least on this image, it's like cut out. Like, where's the team? Are you soloing this? There's one guy. Are you duoing this to farm XP? Like, I don't know what to say. It's a little weird. And then another person's like, oh, there's 5 Bio Titans. Can a dev tell me what stratagem I should have brought for this situation? Not you. The team. What should the team have brought for that situation? And that's something, again, people don't understand. No one talks in this game. It's wild. But I don't know. That's basically the patch note changes for Helldivers 2. The controversy, the player side and the dev side. I really don't think the CEO should have apologized for his, at least the developer comments. I absolutely, he should have apologized for the Discord moderator and a couple of the Discord comments. I feel like the developer, Frederick, at least on Reddit, was pretty straightforward about it. It is a skill issue. Get good. And that's really it.